Okay. Welcome, everyone. I realize I should have been writing attendees. Please add yourself. I'm going to get started. Eric, would you like to share your news?
Oh, yeah, sure. So just to let people here know, I'm going to be leaving Broadcom pretty soon. So I'll be probably reducing a lot of my participation in the CF community, unfortunately. Won't be attending CF Day.
I loved working with you, Eric. And I wanted to say
Oh,
it. Now
thanks
it's
again.
recorded.
It's on tape.
Yeah. And I was
Likewise.
so happy that I got you added as my execution lead. And I'm sad. I assume you'll be rolling off and I should pull you off.
Yeah, we'll have
Okay.
to yeah, roll that back, I suppose.
Okay.
Well, likewise, it's really been great being part of this community for the past decade, and definitely been one of the highlights of my professional career is working on this project and working with all of you.
Okay, I'm adding myself an action item. I just wanted to remind everyone that there is an RFC about the per route feature configuration that's still open for comments. So we've been talking about it for a little bit, but just another note that everyone should give it a look and comment on it.
And we would like to get somewhat close to a final comment period soon.
Sure.
Because I think the most of the discussions have been resolved by now. And unless there's something new, we can probably try to get merged somewhat soon.
Sounds good. Have you been going through, I didn't look this morning, and resolving all the comments?
Yeah, I've been doing that every few days, basically. And there's one discussion open on how the CC API should behave in certain scenarios and like patching and putting and whatever. But I mean, that's really up to the people from the interfaces working group, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think you could write a summary at the bottom? Sometimes it's hard to tell how many conversations are still open, and you can say, like, I think everything's closed up except this one. That's one of the questions we had at the TOC meeting yesterday.
Yeah,
but yes, I'd love to see it merged as well. Great. Dominic, remove obsolete request handler for WebSockets.
Yeah, quite some change, let's say. So Jov has been reviewing this, but I think he might be too scared to merge it himself and gets like he wants to get approval from a larger round. The main intention is to get session affinity working for WebSockets, which doesn't work at the moment. And I realized large portions of the session affinity code is in proxy round tripper right now. And proxy round tripper is not called for WebSockets because we have a check basically in proxy that checks for the upgrade header. And if it's found, it basically does not do what it usually does in the middleware. It just stops executing the middleware and calls this request handler, which has the side effect that if you do add a middleware layer for session affinity, that middleware layer won't be called for WebSockets. So that got me thinking, what if I just removed this WebSocket handler and tested it, and surprise, it still worked. And I did a little digging into the Go standard library history. And since Go 1.12, the reverse proxy that we use for handling all of the backend requests already implements WebSockets. So that's why it still works despite removing the request handler. And the benefit, I think, is here to have a more streamlined code base. if we remove this handler, we will basically rely more on the Go standard library for handling most of the standard, like WebSocket, HTTP, HTTP2, and so kind of traffic. So if there is, there will be bugs, of course, but they will be in the community in Go and fixed there also. We don't have to fix it ourselves. One byproduct also I noticed while refactoring this is that we actually don't implement the RFC correctly for WebSockets, in that if the backend server doesn't respond with a 101 upgrade, it should actually treat the response as regular HTTP, but we don't do that right now. We just close the connection because we assume something went wrong. So that's basically a side effect. If you implement this yourself, you tend to also maybe overlook kind of things and or do a slight deviation from the RFC. And this would be also a fix then. Yeah, so it's a rather large change, but I think it's for the better in the long term. And yeah, I adjusted everything so that the tests are passing again, and everything should still work as before. And yeah, I'm just here to make everybody aware of it and add your opinion. Maybe get
Yeah,
it
I can
merged.
see why it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this deep dive. I've always thought it was suspicious that we handle it separately or handle it ourselves, but I never knew why. So
Yeah,
did you see that our handler that we added in, our custom handler, does
yeah,
it predate Go
yeah,
112?
right.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay.
I
That's
think
surprising to
it's
me because
1
that
or
would
2
be like
years.
5 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's really old now. Like
I guess Go
7
Router's
years
old.
or so. It's really like, yeah, ancient.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to rip out that custom stuff. Like Go should just be handling WebSockets. I don't want to be handling WebSockets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just feel free to comment and yeah, let's see if we can get it in.
Yeah. Great. I'll give a review, but in general, I like the idea. And if the test pass, that's what matters. Then you have a proposal to tunnel CF SSH traffic through WebSockets and close port 2222 as an option.
Yes, that's sort of a tangent on the whole WebSocket topic.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably know, there has been this kerfuffle about the recent CVE in OpenSSH, this backdoor kind of thing. And that got many of our customers scared, and they open tickets and ask questions. Okay, you have this SSH proxy running there. It's like sticking out like a sore thumb to them. Like this open port just keeps like recurring in security tickets that we get, and we usually calm them down and tell them, hey, this is for SSH. And now they say SSH is compromised or whatever. It's not true, but yeah, customers are scared easy. And it's multiplied by the fact that we also allow customers to run their own custom domain on our platform. So it won't be just like SAP opening that port. It will be, for example, Apple having that port open or Google having that port open. If Google is a customer and they run a custom domain on us, it will be their port 2222 open. And their security guys will complain. And then in turn, they will complain to us. So I thought, why not like stop this whole mess and add an option to Cloud Foundry that would allow the CF CLI to look into the CF info API point that it does now to get the endpoint. And if the endpoint says WSS, then it tries to open a WebSocket connection to this route. And the SSH proxy on the other end will just unwrap this WebSocket tunnel. and forward the SSH connection like it did before to the actual app. So that would be just a proposal. I'd say it probably warrants a RFC because it will be in Diego. It's just for me, I wanted to raise this and ask your opinion if it's worth it, or if you think there's any blocker for going forward with this.
Eric, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think that sounds like a good idea. It would consolidate, actually, presumably, if everyone's able to switch over to this option, it would reduce the number of load balancers even the customers would need to have, because they could just consolidate everything through the Go router for that traffic.
Right. Yeah.
So
Just,
with that,
once customers stop using CFCLI 7,
yeah,
once they
right,
get a new CLI.
eventually, they'd have to do a lot of upgrades, but eventually they could
One day, yeah.
Oh yeah, good
and-
point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that could potentially be backported. I mean, we could think about what the advertisement looks like for that in the CC's info endpoint, but if it's just a matter of the CLI also needing to wrap the SSH protocol in WebSockets to send it over, then yeah, that might be something that'd be pretty easy to do in old versions of the CLI, and they could try to do that if it's advertised, and if not, fall back to the old one.
Right. Yeah.
Would that also look like on the SSH proxy, it would need a separate, I guess, maybe port open to accept that connection? Or would it be able to do everything over its existing port that's open and just have it registered with the Go router?
I think it could be both, but it's probably easier to have a separate port for it. Otherwise, you would have to sort of peek into what's coming.
Oh, okay.
And if it's WebSocket, then yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be hard for us to do because we've got route registrar or something already registering the proxy. Actually, maybe we don't, because it's just probably sitting there and we expect a load balancer in front of it. But yeah, I think that sounds really interesting. I think that could be valuable to do. So, but yeah, definitely since it'd be cross-cutting across the app runtime interfaces working group as well as the platform, then yeah, RFC makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely need a way to keep both open for a while.
Yeah. The idea is to have both in parallel, and if the CLI supports it, then it will go for the WebSocket option. Otherwise, fall back.
Yeah. But I love the idea of eventually closing port 2222 because we get the same complaints, and one of our things below is, can we close some of the other ports? So consolidating those ports would be great.
Yeah.
Made an RFC. This sounds great though.
One question that I have is this something that someone else already did, Dominic? Do you know of anyone doing something similar?
You mean the wrapping?
Yeah.
It's a common theme that you get with multiple protocols, but usually especially our customers are very conservative. They don't like any ports besides 443. We also get complaints even about port 80 that we use for redirecting.
Yeah.
And it's the same there, basically.
So my concern of what I'm going for is that we have instructions on how to use SSH, like the binary and SCP. And I think SCP is the kind of recommended way to do file transfers between your app and your local machine. So we would probably have to provide maybe we would have to just build it into the CFCLI, but some way to retain that behavior. Because otherwise you would essentially break it, because I'm assuming that SCP or SSH don't do this WebSocket thing.
Yeah, you mean the regular SSH binary, not the CFSSH?
Yeah, that's currently what's. Yeah, but
when you do CFSSH, you get
as far as
it's a Go implementation, but you probably could also. I tried it. I mean, there's a proxy command option in the SSH binary that you can use to basically do that, and it will forward the SSH traffic and call the WebSocket proxy for it, and that works fine. It's just a thing that you would have to ship somehow
Yeah, I
Or-
think when
yeah,
we originally even spec'd out the idea for CFSSH, we had the idea of letting the CLI be that local proxy. And I think we just never implemented it. So maybe now we have a reason to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that I guess that would do the hard work of wrapping everything in WebSockets and then making the Go router unwrap it on the other side.
Good thing you're fixing WebSockets and Go router first. Any more thoughts on this one? Okay. Next, Jeff wanted to bring up some things, but he's at the doctor, so I'm going to represent them for him. One was he wants to remove these ADS addresses and some pilot related Envoy config. If I pull these up. Note that it says experimental. This is when we were thinking about, this is like, imagine back 2017. We were thinking about replacing Go router with an Envoy and configuring both that Go router envoy and these internal envoys, like app envoys, Cycle envoys, doing some dynamic configuration. But we never went through with it, and now we think we can just get rid of this. I think Jeff wanted to bring it up because Plumman's not here. Was worried that it would break something. So we were
Where
curious
did
to
he
hear.
bring that up?
I'm not sure.
Because I think I know what he's referring to.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't want to get into the details. In general, there is the request from someone inside SAP to dynamically reconfigure Envoy. And as far as I understand, these
Oh,
ADS
really?
addresses are a way to do exactly that. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize you were doing that.
But we don't. We currently don't.
Oh.
But someone was asking for it, and we are hesitant for a number of reasons. But again, I don't want to get into details. But there might be a use case that we have. So
okay.
Again, it's all pretty unclear right now, but we are in the process of clarifying it, and yeah, we might want to come back to that then.
Okay. We think no one's actively using it.
Yeah, not right now.
Which is true.
Yeah.
At least from our side.
Eric, use case. And you don't want to rip it out yet.
Yeah, it's pretty convoluted.
Okay. So I'll say Max and Plumman are looking into this use case and we'll get back to us.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yeah, if
I
it
can
turns
probably
out
reach out to Plumman then.
if it turns out that you do want to keep it, maybe we can just change the words around it, because it says maybe it's not called pilot anymore, or maybe it's, we just give it a better description to say what we're planning on using it for.
Yeah, right. If we were to actually rely on this, we would probably need to do some refactoring anyways, and that would then clean this up.
Okay, interesting. Good. Glad we brought it up then. The next thing is, so you're talking about ports. That there's a way to configure with the route integrity, right? You can do TLS between Go router and the Envoy, or you can do MTLS. If you do TLS, it leaves open this port that's on the Diego cell that will talk directly to the app's like 8080, like unencrypted endpoint. The Go router doesn't use it, but other things can use it, like C2C uses it before we did C2C through the Envoy. And so there, I think I remember talking to you all, and you all are configured to use MTLS from Go router to your backends, I believe. Is that true? Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't have this port open, but some people do. And I don't love that this port is open. But one of the reasons you need this port open is for TCP routing, because TCP does not go through Envoy. It's not TLS. But I would love to close this port because we've seen people that like if you're on the network, like they expose that their TAS, or sorry, their, you know, CF, whatever network to many people, and then anyone can talk to these apps unencrypted. It's not great. And so we want to add like a TLS wrapping around TCP traffic, like the traffic from the TCP router. So that way all traffic from the TCP router can go through Envoy, and we can close that port that allows people on the network to just talk to any app unencrypted. Did that make sense?
We don't use the TCP router, so I
Yeah.
think we won't be affected. Fingers crossed. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think we should be good.
Yeah.
Fewer ports open is always great.
And you do have the MTLS,
Yep.
MTLS enabled. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to make that the default, and eventually one day move away from everything else, you know, when we slowly move people over, to just have that be the option.
Amelia, would we also have to do anything for the SSHD port on the container?
I'm not
I
sure.
forget it. We should check and see if that's in the list too.
I think that was fixed to work with MTLS. I'm not, anyway, Jeff
Okay.
has been looking more
We should
into
check
this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not breaking things is top concern. Yeah, I think we want to get to a point where by default CFD does MTLS, and then we have other options to roll it back to less secure things if people want. But it seems like if you're already doing the most secure thing, you're like, great. Yeah. Jeff has a comment here. Can Plummet or Constantine? Oh, neither here. Speak to, oh, this is about adding metrics for BBS endpoints. Maybe I'll ask Jeff to bring this up in Slack. I know there was like a request for some more BBS or some more metrics. And there's just some concern about how many metrics, you know, customers are always saying we do too many metrics and what we want to do about it. So I'll have him bring that up in Slack since they're not here. Are there any other things people want to talk today? If not, have a great Thursday.
You too.
And I will see you later.
See you. Bye.
Bye.